Us. Good morning. We haven't had a mastermind in a while because of summer and such, but we're back, and I think this will be a really good topic because it's one that we don't talk about enough, I don't think, and it's really a baseline of everything that we do, and that's just being prepared for your day, for your appointment, for your call, for sending an email. And I'm going to let Brandon handle this one because Brandon is really good at this, and sometimes you should hear it from the best, and Brandon is one of the best. So Brandon, the reins are yours. Let's do it.
Well, thank you. I appreciate the kind words and happy birthday to you. I'll see you later today. We're going to celebrate.
Thanks.
Happy birthday. Um, Thanks for asking me to do this. Guys, I hope this is helpful. I'm not a PowerPoint guy. So, Doug's going to prepare some cliff notes that he always does after mastermind and send those out. But if you have any questions or concerns, or you want to do any scripting or ask any questions of me, you can always ask for me in the group, or better yet, text me on the side. But I hope this is helpful for you. I'm sorry about my background. Amber works from home on Friday, and she's corralling the living room right now, and she has work calls nonstop. So I'm in the office, and so you just got to deal with the background. Sorry. Okay,
It's
let's.
great. It looks like you're sitting by the pearly gates, man.
I've ascended this morning,
And
but they won't let me
April's right
in.
down the street.
They won't let me in. It's a bit of a problem. Okay, so let's get into this, and I'm kind of going to go right down the session highlights that Doug sent out. If you have that email, you can kind of follow along. If you have any questions for me, please stop me. I don't have a timeline, and so I can talk all day about real estate because I enjoy it, and it's how we make money. And by talking about it with other professionals, it only makes us better. But I don't want to, beat a dead horse. So if anyone thinks it's time to move on at any time, especially Doug, nudge me along. First thing on this list is mastering phone calls. And the first bullet point is understanding the value of phone communication in real estate. And so really a couple of points that I want to make on that. We're in the people business, and you don't win relationships by texting people. We are a call first organization. We're always going to be a call first organization. You develop relationships with people over the phone. Developing those relationships over the phone puts you in an opportunity to meet with people face to face. When you meet with someone face to face, that's where you really win them. But you got to get them in the dealership first, and the only way to get them in the dealership is to get them on the phone. So don't be afraid to pick up the phone. That is the lifeblood of our business. We have the data that shows that, the average agent, if you average 12 calls a day at a minimum, you hit the team minimum. And so we need you want to be hitting that amount at a bare minimum. Now, when you're making those phone calls, you need to be prepared for them. And that's the next bullet point: preparing for client calls, including researching their needs and property interests. So, let me give you a tip and trick that I use. I live in Chapel Hill, but I sell real estate all throughout the triangle. And so when someone registers on my website and they're looking at properties in Clayton, well, I don't live in Clayton. I don't tell them I don't tell them I live in Clayton, but I call them and I say, hey, this is Brandon Yopp with the Oceanaire Realty. I'm a realtor in Clayton. You had registered on my website. I simply wanted to reach out and introduce myself and give you some information about the market. I always try to reach out and touch base with everyone that registers on my site. That puts me in a position to help you and answer your questions. I'm subtly hinting to them, hey, I do real estate in Clayton. Again, I didn't say that I live in Clayton. I don't say that. I'm saying I do real estate in Clayton. That's a tip that I stole from someone that I used to work with. And that resonates with people because, sometimes if you say, hey, I live in Holly Ridge, and they're looking for someone that's doing real estate in Hampstead, your bread and butter may be in Hampstead. You just don't live there for whatever reason, right? And so sometimes that can be a negative tick against you, right? They think that you're not proficient in the market that they're looking for. You're not lying to people. I sell homes in Hampstead. I just don't happen to live there, but I'm not telling you that, right? And so that little nudge right there can help people understand, okay, this person, Eli, does business in Durham, right? He happens to live in Durham, so that may not be the best example. But little things like that. Have an understanding of what they're looking at when you call them, right? Now, this is especially important when you've got someone on a qualified drip and you've called them 3 or 4 times. All the data shows it typically takes 7 to 9 calls to actually get someone on the phone and to develop a relationship with them. And so if you're driving in the car in between appointments and you get a new lead, right, we need to call them within 10 minutes. All the data shows that your likelihood of converting that lead plummets if you wait longer than 10 minutes. So call them, go ahead and call them and say, hey, I'm in between appointments, but I saw you just registered on my site. I wanted to reach out and introduce myself. What are your goals? What's got you looking at homes? Have that conversation with them. But if you swing and miss there and you've called them 4 or 5 times in a qualified drip and you're not getting a hold of them, and you finally get them on the phone and you're not prepared to engage with them, you have failed. That's on us. That's on the agent. And so what do I mean by that? I'm looking at condos in and around downtown Raleigh. And so if I call them and say, hey, so yeah, I do real estate here in the Triangle. What are you looking for? That is not nearly as impressive. That is not nearly adding the value that we need to add as saying, hey, I see you've been looking at condos in downtown Raleigh on my website. Do you live in downtown now? What are you looking for? Do you go downtown a lot? What's your favorite restaurant? Right? Like, ask questions that show that you're paying attention to them. And so one of the problems that we all run into, and I do this as well, I always will, right? We're always working to get better. Is when I prospect, sometimes I'm like, okay, I got to hit my calls for today. I've got a limited amount of time because I got life and showings going on. I need to bang these calls out. I'm just clicking on a name and then making the call, right? That you may as well not even do it. You may as well not even do it, myself included. Take the time to look and see what the e-alert is set up for. Look and see if they've had any recent searches. Look and see if they've checked a property out, right? If you're just calling to call, but you're not prepared to have a conversation with them or provide value, there's no point in calling because you're going to come across as not knowing what you're doing. So let me give you an example. Someone registered on my website a couple of days ago. They looked at the same house in Garner 4 times. I finally got them on the phone. And so I immediately went to that house. Hey, I noticed you've been looking at 123 Cherry Grove, Garner. What is that similar to what you're looking for? And that was the jumping off point for that conversation. Now, they happen to know someone that lives in that area, and so that's actually not what they were looking for, but they could tell that I had been paying attention to what they're doing, right? And so that's the customer service aspect of I'm giving the impression right from the jump that I'm dialed in and I know what you're looking at, right? That is exceptionally, exceptionally fits. It's incredibly difficult to do when you have the numbers of people that we have in our database, but it's worth it for you to take the minute to a minute and a half to go through their e-alert, to look at their recent searches, to look at the properties that they've been looking at so that you're prepared to have a conversation, right? It's better for you to have 12 to 15 prepared calls a day. So, because the odds of you getting someone on the phone are, less than half of the people are going to answer. And so if you get 50% to answer, you need to be prepared. And, like when we prospect on Thursdays or when you're prospecting at home, I would rather you have 12 to 15 calls and have really good engaging conversations than just bang out 45 calls and the people that answer the phone, you don't make any progress with them, right? So be prepared to engage with these people and know what it is that they're looking for and use that as opportunities to jump off and learn more about them. The next bullet point, crafting effective scripts and talking points to convey information confidently. I talked about this in the Triangle all the time. Do you know what the average 30-year fixed is?
Yeah.
What is it?
It's about 7.5-ish. 7.2 have good credit.
Yeah, you're pretty close. Yeah, yesterday the 30-year fix ended the day at 7.24. So you're close enough, Ellen. That's a good answer. Be prepared to know this information, right? If someone asks you right up, hey, what are rates right now? And you say, well, they're anywhere between 6 and 7. Well, thanks a lot, dude. That's not enough, like be dialed in, be able to have a conversation with people about what rates look like, right? Hey, for the last month and a half, they floated somewhere between 7.10 and we set a 21-year high 4 weeks ago, 7.49%. Now remember, that's the average, right? So there are going to be people that are above that and there's going to be people below. Based on your credit and what kind of financing you're using, you may be, I'm getting tongue tied. You may very well be a good amount below that, but be prepared. Have an idea of what inventory is like. I got a call yesterday from an agent actually in Wilmington. I don't know how she found me. She didn't really give me a good answer, but her daughter is looking in Chapel Hill. And I know the Chapel Hill market because I live here. And so she said, what can my daughter get for 500,000 in Chapel Hill? And if you're looking at Orange County or you're looking at Chatham County, those are different properties. But I know that market. So fortunately, I was able to answer that question without even researching. When you get someone on the phone and you can see that they're looking in Topsail Island at certain price point, do you know what they can actually get for that amount of money, right? That's a great way to provide value, because if the search that they're asking you to perform is unrealistic right from the get, that's where you can come in and provide information to them to set expectations and maybe really guide them and help them alter their search. Hey, here's what's available at this price point in this location. I'm happy to set that search up for you. Based on what you're telling me, we've probably got two things that we can do here, possibly up the budget or spread the search out. Are you willing to go a little bit further out? Right? Are you willing to drive 10, 15 extra minutes to get the house that you want? Right? But we have to know that information to be able to provide that value, right? And so if you're not checking the MLS, if you're not looking at the hot sheets, if you're not looking at if you're not looking at what they're looking for, you're going to have a difficult time being able to provide that value, right? We're in the value business. You got to think there's 76 or some odd thousand real estate agents in North Carolina. They can all draw up on the same forms that we can, right? That we got to develop that relationship by being prepared and sharing that information, right? Be prepared to engage people in those conversations about, well, the rates aren't great. Yeah, they're not. I mean, I'll be honest with you, they're not fantastic, but here's the deal. There's a lot fewer people looking. Homes are sitting on the market longer now than they have in probably the last 3.5 years. And we're seeing some seller concessions. Most homes are not selling in 15 minutes after the listing agreement is signed, right? And so if prices drop, but rates stay higher, you may wind up you're definitely going to be paying more. So be prepared to have those conversations. Last thing on phone calls, managing call follow-ups and creating a system for tracking conversations. Fortunately, we have the system Sisu. It's thoughtless. We just dial the call and record it in Boomtown, and Sisu is able to track that data for us. But are you using your to-dos effectively in Boomtown? The to-dos is honestly probably the best system that we have. I think to-dos are even better than e-alerts, because, as much as we try to get people on our website, people are still gravitating towards Zillow, especially when we're not really two-way communicating with them, when they haven't signed an agency agreement, when we haven't really secured that relationship. But the to-dos are basically a flare going off every day saying, hey, call this guy, call this gal, reach out to them. And so, you guys have probably all experienced this, but if you haven't yet, you will at some point in the very near future. You make a promise to someone, right? Hey, we're in California. I'm planning for my daughter's wedding. She's getting married in the middle of September. But as soon as this wedding goes down, I'm putting my house on the market and I'm trying to get to the Triangle. I went to college there. I want to get back. Okay, that's awesome. I'm going to call you back the last week of September. When I call that lady back, she's going to remember that, right? But if I don't call her back, she's going to continue to look online, and eventually someone is going to do a good enough job of staying in touch with her, and they're going to win that relationship. And so if I blow that lead, that's on me. All I got to do is put it into Boomtown and check my to-dos once a day. That's all I got to do. All I got to do. And you'll be amazed, again, if this has not happened to you yet, it will. You'll be amazed at how many people have forgotten about you. But when you say that, oh yeah, that's right. Hey, thank you so much for staying in touch with me. Blah, 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 blah. Let's go, right? Let's continue nurturing that relationship. So put those to-dos in there, live and die by the to-dos. When I prospect every day, the number one thing for me to look at are the now wall, the people that are on there effectively looking. And then it's those to-dos, because almost every single time I have someone in a to-do, I have told them I'm calling you back on this date. And so I got to follow up with them, or else it's on me. Any questions about the phone calls? And I just nailed it so much. There's just nothing to. Okay.
I had a thought while you were going over it.
Yeah.
Do you think that we could start, and this is mostly to Doug because he's our BIC, going over the hot sheet that you had mentioned and all of that on our Monday morning meetings? That way, like, we're like able to go speak on it effectively after like going over it with our team?
You mean our listings or just listings in general?
No, the MLS hot sheet, so that way when we get on the phones with our leads, we're like speaking from a knowledge point.
Yeah, I mean, I think when I used to start my prospecting, I would go into the hot sheet and see if my people had favorited them, because you can see if they've added it to their favorites or if they've, saved it or looked at it multiple times. That's a great place to start prospecting. Yeah, I think that I'm not sure that I would go about it like as a team to review every new listing every Monday in the MLS, because that's just going to be a little overwhelming.
No, I'm sorry. I think you're misunderstanding. The point that Brandon was making about being knowledgeable about the current interest rates and how long houses are sitting on the market, so that way when we get on the phone with our clients with our 12 calls a day, we are coming from a knowledge standpoint. I just think it could be really valuable if as a team we're reviewing that at the start of every week.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. We could look at a market snapshot and review it kind of at the same point in time every week and kind of see how things are trending from, this point last year, this point last month, this point last week, things like that. Yeah, I love that. There's no
What I
reason.
love about, oh, sorry, Doug. What I love about what Christina's talking about is each one of us, especially in the coast area, someone has a really great handle on the Jacksonville market. I really know Hampstead. Someone else really knows Sneads Ferry. So when we see something come up on the hot sheet, it doesn't really make sense. Like, okay, this address, I don't really know that well, Jacksonville, but someone else might, and they can really share about, hey, that's a really hot house. We want to go after that one, compared to, because we were handling so many markets down here.
So I don't have access to your MLS, but this may be in there or something similar, because I think it's pretty standard across most MLS systems. We have Fast Stats and InfoSparks as one of the resource options in our MLS. That data typically updates around the 13th to 15th every month for the prior month. And so like yesterday, actually that lady I was talking to you about in Chapel Hill, who's a Wilmington agent, I sent this to her. It's got all of the previous month's activity, what homes are selling for, how much above or below list price, how many properties were on the market, new to market in that criteria, broken down by county and broken down by town. And so those are good things that you can pull at least once a month. That would be good opportunities for you. And I can show, I know Doug knows where that is, and I know at least Sheila's using it in our office up here, but that's I think it's the Fast Stats. And so you may want to look in your MLS again. I don't have access to that, and see if you can find it. But if you go to our resources and our MLS, you click on Fast Stats and you can break that stuff down. Okay, I'm going to jump to good questions. I'm going to jump to the
Let me ask one more question on this topic while we're on it. And if we're steering too far off, we can table this. But in terms of sharing stats with leads or clients, what have you found resonates with them in terms of sharing things like averages, percentages, and medians?
It kind of depends on what the situation is. It's definitely helpful to show, like I showed a guy last night, because he thinks that the market has completely fallen off, and it's not. Where he's looking in Clayton, homes are selling at about 2% below list price over the last month. And so, the idea that you can come in on a house that's been on the market for 10 days and, go 15% below list price, is the data shows that's not happening. Now, we can have a conversation on a property specific basis about that. Of course, I'm happy to do that. And a lot of this comes with setting the expectation with your client. Like, I'm going to always be honest with you, and this is like a horseshit offer, right? Like, this is not going to happen. And also, here's what the data says. But I show that information all the time. Sometimes median price is a little bit dangerous, because depending on where you're looking at, like median price inside the Beltline in Raleigh doesn't matter. Those people don't care, right? But if you're looking in more north or certainly southeast Raleigh, it matters a lot, right? Because it's very difficult to find a single family home for $300,000 that you can get a loan on, right? It just is. And so But I like to share the sales price to list price ratios. I like to share the days on market a lot. I think those are the two, best criteria, both for buyers and sellers, because the data is what it is, right? The data is what it is. Is that sufficient, Eli? Does that help?
Yeah, absolutely. That helps a lot.
Okay, let's move on to appointment excellence. So preparing for property showings and meeting clients in advance. Okay, meeting clients in advance. I'm going to go a couple ways on this. I'm going to pretend like you've already met the client, you've had the buyer consultation, they've signed working with real estate agents, you've got them under agency. When we start looking at homes, I want to be there 10 minutes before they're there on the first house. Of course, you can't do that if you're showing them 3-4 properties consecutively. The first house, I want to be there before they are. I want to have all the lights on, even the microwave light on above the stove. I want to have the house decked out, right? I want them to see the home, and I want to already have walked through the home and know where everything is, because you'll have people, is this the primary bedroom? Is this the master bedroom? I don't know. And then you pull out the floor plan and you look like you don't know what you're talking about, right? Sometimes it's easier said than done, but I want to be there and I want to already know the house, and I want to have some semblance of what the property disclosures say. Again, if we're going through 4 homes, I'm not going to remember the tax value for every property, but I need to have some idea of how old the home is, how old the systems are, and if they've disclosed anything that's problematic, right? I mean, that's the value that we provide. Anybody can just walk in there and say, there's a kitchen, right? It's obvious. There's the stove. So know that information. What I typically do is, when I book a showing, I email the client directly from the MLS every single property disclosure that's in the MLS, and I typically send it to myself too, quite frankly, so I don't have to print it, and I can just pull it up on my phone and walk through it as we go. Right? That's what I do. It's different if you're just meeting someone for the first time, or if they're really in the thick of it. If they're in the thick of it and they're a hot lead and they're ready to buy today, everything we're looking at, I've done it at a minimum a loose CMA. Right? Because the question that you're going to get is this overpriced? Do you think this is worth this? Do you think it will appraise? Well, I saw that this house sold for that. Yeah, dude, but that house sold a year ago. It's a completely different market, right? And you need to have at least a loose CMA so that you can have a realistic conversation with them to set the expectations. Because what you don't want to do is get in a situation where you're showing a house and they love it and you're saying, you know what, I think it's priced well. And then you go home and you do a full comp and you're like, oh shit, this is well underpriced and they're going to have a ton of offers this first day on market. Or this house is priced sky high and they're committed to going at it, and I know it's not going to appraise. Because then what you're going to have to do is backtrack, right? And when you have to backtrack like that, you are playing, especially if it's someone who you have a good relationship with it, but they're not entirely bought in, you're going to start planting seeds of doubt. Well, dude, I was prepared to go hardcore and you said that this was a good price, and now you're telling me it's not going to appraise. I don't have the money to make up an appraisal gap, right? And so you've got to be prepared and have that data before you start spouting off, yeah, this price is great, I think this is a deal. And then you go and run the comp and you're like, oh my God, nothing has sold at this price point in a year, and it's probably not going to sell now. So be prepared for that data. Creating comprehensive property tour packages to impress clients. Again, that's providing those disclosures. You would be amazed at how many people don't do that. If you've had a listing or you've been in real estate for a minute, you know that most agents do not read the agent remarks on the MLS. Read the agent remarks on the MLS. If you go and show a house and in the agent remarks it says property is in the floodplain, sellers have flood insurance policy, and you go and you show that client and your client falls in love with the property, and while you're drafting the documents, hey guys, just so you know, this house is in the flood zone. Why did you take me to look at this house? Like 99% of people are going to say that, right? So read those agent remarks, be prepared. If you think there's a red flag there, reach out to that agent proactively and call them, right? Question?
I'm chuckling because yesterday I had a conversation with somebody and I said, just so you know, this isn't a flood zone. He said, it's waterfront. I was like, okay, good. I'm glad you.
That's a fair point.
It's still in the flood zone, and I still disclosed to you. So
I disclosed it, and I'm going to send you an email that says I told you this. Please reply received. Yeah, I mean,
I have a quick anecdote about being prepared.
Yeah.
I showed a house last weekend, early showing, 9:30 a.m., and there's myself, my client, and two other parties there. And I saw that one party was inside. So I said, let's walk around the perimeter. We'll check out the outside first, and then we'll go inside. And hoping those folks inside would go outside. And they did. So we go inside, and the realtor comes back inside, and she goes, "Oh, are you the realtor?" I said, "Yeah, I'm Eli Watchman." And she goes, "Oh, well, this is my appointment." I said, "Well, it looks like I was able to book this appointment for 9:30. It's common to have double bookings. I see it a lot." And her clients come in, and she goes, "Well," I said, and I was explaining to her, I had to reschedule this appointment because they have a 12 noon deadline for offers. And she was unaware of that fact. And her clients are there. And, so they like the property, but I can tell that she did not know that was going to be something that she needed to be aware of. And so it is invaluable to check the listing agent's remarks, but also double check them before seeing the property because those things do change.
That's exactly right. Yeah. I mean, and you showed right there to her client that you were more informed and prepared for the showing than their agent was. And that's unfortunate.
Bad luck,
Yeah.
buddy.
That stuff like that happens all the time. Leading into the next part, anticipating questions and objections to provide well-informed responses. This kind of goes in hand with having those disclosures, providing that information, looking over it, seeing if there's anything problematic. If there's anything problematic, again, you need to reach out to the listing agent. You need to anticipate your client's questions. You know what their concerns are going to be. And so, as an example, if you're looking at a property with someone, they don't have a lot of money, and they've indicated, "Hey, we saw this house, but this house, man, the roof was like 20 years old and we just don't have the money to replace a roof right now," right? And they want to see a new house that's come to the market, and you look at the disclosures and the roof is 20 years old. That's your opportunity to go to a client and say, "Hey guys, you remember that house we saw last week? The roof is old and that you ruled that up. Well, we're in the same situation with that one here. So do we really need to see this house? Because you've already told me you don't have the money to replace the roof." Right. That's a question to ask. You are their expert. You're their fiduciary. You're looking out for them by asking that question. So jump in front of things like that. When it comes to, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I think too often in this business, folks are like, "Oh, okay, I've got a showing a request. Let's book it. Let's go see it." And they don't take the time to do any homework and actually look at the property ahead of time. And then you drive 45 minutes to get there, and your client meets you, and you both step out in the driveway, and they're like, "Oh, I didn't realize this had a wooden fence. I hate wooden fences." And now you've wasted an hour and a half, which if that's something you knew from a previous meeting with them, you could have looked at the pictures and said, "Hey, remember you said you didn't like wooden fences. Just wanted to point out this one has a wooden fence before we go see it. Do you still want to go see it?" "Oh no, I hate wooden fences. I didn't see that in the pictures. Let's not go see it."
Yeah.
Or, garden tubs or whatever it is, beige floors, whatever it is. Make sure that you review the listings that people send you so you can speak. It not only does it show that you're paying attention, but it shows that you're listening to them and you're understanding what's important to them and what's not.
That's exactly right. I think a lot of agents are afraid to push back because you feel like you're going to lose that buyer if you say, "Hey guys, we don't need to see this home, or we shouldn't look at this." But if they've told you they need 3,500 square feet and they send you a 2,200 square feet home, this is the great location. We think could you really make do with 1,300 less square feet? Like, let's have a conversation about this, right? You're their expert. They're trusting you. They're telling you they're trusting you to have these conversations. Have the conversation with them. That shows that you're listening and providing value. Leveraging the technology to streamline appointment scheduling and reminders. Again, you can leverage technology by emailing them the disclosures so that they can review them and let you know if they have any questions before you go. You can leverage technology by booking showings and showing time and utilizing the smart route so you don't have to copy and paste every address into Google Maps and figure out the best way to get there from your house. Take advantage of that so that you can maximize your time, not only for your business, but honestly, for your personal life, right? Like, I'll give you an example. I've got a buyer right now, $160,000, which is nothing up here, and she needs $8,000 in closing costs. I've told her, you send me a house first 2 or 3 days on market in Fayetteville and it's priced at above 160, we're not going. It's not happening. She sent me one yesterday afternoon, priced at 165. I can't get $13,000 off the first day on market. I can't do it. I'm just being honest with you. And so from my house to Fayetteville, it's an hour and a half. Like, I probably shouldn't have even taken her on, but I wanted the deal and she was referred by a past client. So that's on me. But have those conversations with people. I'm squirreling a little bit. That doesn't have much to do with technology, but use showing time to book your appointments to go through the quick route. Okay. Harnessing e-alerts and notifications. Dial back that e-alert for your client as specifically as you can. Make sure your name is in that e-alert so that they become familiar with your name, especially if you're not really two-way communicating. And the e-alert is the best way for a lead to get an understanding of what they can get at that budget in that area, right? And so just have a conversation with them. Hey, based on the inventory and based on my experience, you're going to have a really hard time getting something for $400,000 in X. I'm going to go ahead and set up that e-alert. Let's look at that for a week and a half. A week, in 10 days, I'm going to call you back and we're going to have a conversation about what we need to do to alter your search, or if you're fine with changing it to stay in that geographic area, right? Do that. I set up those personalized e-alerts for their clients to match their preferences as closely as you can, right? And to have that conversation with people. A lot of people say, well, I want an open kitchen. I want an open floor plan. Well, there's no way in the MLS there's not a little button to check for open floor plan. So just explain to people, I'm going to dial this in as specifically as I can. But unfortunately, like, I can't select marble or granite countertop. So just bear with me. Most people are cool with that if you have that conversation. They don't know the ability that you have to dial stuff in and out. So just be upfront and tell them. Now, I will tell you, I set up the client alert on the Boomtown site, but when they're a hot lead and they're really cooking with gas, I set up an MLS alert that goes directly to me. Okay. I don't send that to them. I send that to me. Here's why I do this. And this is a legitimate reason. I don't want them to think I'm letting the computer do my job, right? That's number one. Number two is people are busy. They're not sitting around looking for our daily emails. Right? Life is happening to people. And so I need to stay on top of it because they're telling me they want to do a financial transaction that's going to benefit me. So I need to stay on it. So here's what I mean by this. I set up the criteria in the MLS to come to me as tight as I can that fits the search that they're telling me that they want. And so they may get it in that daily alert. But my email is hammered all day with homes from the MLS. And so it may say, homes for Doug Yopp. That's how I title my searches. Homes for Eli Watchman. Those come to me. I'm on my phone all day. Email comes to me from the MLS. I open the email. I click the link. I can look at the data and look at the first 3 photos of the home and know if it's worth my time. If it's not, I never hear. I don't do anything with it. I just delete the freaking email. But if I think it's got an 80% more chance of being the house for them, and when I do my buyer consult, I tell everybody there's no such thing as a perfect house. If a house has if it hits 80% or more of your criteria, you should at least have a conversation about it. And people reference that back to me all the time. But if it hits that 80% mark, I text it to them immediately. Say, hey guys, know you're probably busy. I saw this just hit the MLS. I think you need to check it out. Let me know your thoughts. That is me putting it in front of them, and that is me providing value because they're saying, hey, this guy's not just sitting back for me to say, hey, come open this door. It shows that I am actively monitoring the market every single day, looking out for a property that I think best suits their interest. And the longer that you're working with someone, the closer that you are, the more homes that you show, you'll know what you can roll in and out. That example I was just giving you, I want an open kitchen, open floor plan. If I see one that's not like that, I don't freaking send it to them. But if I do, I'm texting it. Hey guys, I think this has got the kitchen that you want. Check it out and let me know. Okay. That is providing the value. That's leveraging technology too, to get back to the prior point. Managing e-alert subscriptions efficiently to avoid information overload. If someone has a different take on this, please let me know. I delete e-alerts that clients set up all the time. People get confused and they'll set up a new search and they'll have like 18 of the same search. Like you'll look at someone and they go like homes in North Shore, homes in North Shore 1, homes for Sally, and they're all North Shore. Freaking delete them, because you're going to wear them out and they're going to hate your guts. You have the ability to do that. Go in there and delete the search or alter the search, but make sure that your name is in that search. Going back to something on the previous point, leveraging e-alerts for competitive analysis and market intelligence. This is a great thing to do for people, your past clients. If they've been living in a home for a year or more, set them up on an e-alert for their HOA so that they can get an idea of the valuation of their current home. When I reach out to someone, I'm trying to get better about this. I haven't done it for everybody. When I close a client, especially a buyer client, I go in Boomtown. When I go in and close the transaction and change their stats to close, I know we have a closed drip, but I do this on my own because I have OCD. I'm not saying you need to do this. I'm a control freak. But when I close them out, I set a 1 week, 1 month, 3 month, 6 month, 12-month touch point for closing. Okay. When I hit that 1 month checkpoint, or the 1 year checkpoint, I create a 2 year and a 3 year and a 4 year and a 5 year. But I also set, I could probably do this earlier. I set an e-alert weekly for their neighborhood so that they can see what homes are selling for now. It helps them get a loose gauge of the valuation of their home. That's a great way to tee someone up and stay in touch with a buyer for when they're ready to sell their home. Okay, transaction readiness. I feel like I'm taking a long time, so I'm going to try.
You're doing great. I want to add something there too. If you've got a seller lead, make sure that you're setting up the same e-alert for them about their neighborhood so they can monitor what's happening in their neighborhood. Yeah, they're not ready to move yet. You know, they're working on finding a new job, or they know that they're going to be relocated or something like that, or they know their kids are going to college, so they're going to move to follow their kids or whatever. Set it up so they've got the information. Don't let them, you know, go get the information and then come to you with actual misinformation that then you have to disseminate for them. Provide it to them in advance. That's a great way to provide value to people who aren't quite there yet. But hey, I'm going to set you up with a market watch so you can know what's going on in and around your neighborhood. Right? It's the same principle. Same principle.
Exactly right. And so for sellers, I do this too. I set up an MLS search for sellers that comes to me as well. I've got some good people, good friends of mine. They want to sell, they just can't do it yet. But for their entire HOA, anytime a townhome in their HOA goes on the MLS, I get an alert about it and I immediately reach out to them and say, hey guys, this is hitting the market on this date. Let's keep an eye on this. This would be a great indicator for the valuation of your home. People appreciate that. They know I'm not trying to get them to do something now. I'm simply just providing information for them. People are desperate for someone to help them and not have commission breath, because when most agents are prospecting, they are implicitly letting these people know, hey, do you want to buy a house today? Because I got bills to pay. Oh, you're not ready? Okay, call me when you're ready, and you'll never hear from them. Right? It's about putting in the long game. Okay, so let me try to speed it up. Transaction readiness, preparing transaction documents and paperwork well in advance. You go on a listing appointment, have the freaking listing agreement signed. Like, have the thing filled out so you can put it right in front of them, right? When you go on an appointment, have that loose comp printed out, slide it across the table. If they're ready to make a decision while you're in the house, be informed and have the information there to go, right? Have the offer set up. Like if they're looking at an HOA and they're basically saying, hey, whatever happens, we have to be in this neighborhood, and you go show a house in that neighborhood, have the stuff ready to roll. Hey, I can fill this offer out in 15 minutes. Let's go. Let's win this sucker, right? Creating checklists and timelines to ensure smooth and timely closings. Okay, April is on here, and April is great, and she does a fantastic job, and I don't know how she manages all of this stuff for us. Ordering inspections, making sure we get a CD to prove from the lender, scheduling, closing, and all that stuff. And April is fantastic, and this does not take away from her, but it is our responsibility. At the end of the day, these people are our clients. Utilize the to-dos in their profile to make sure that the transaction is running smoothly. I wish I could show you. I guess I could. Doug, can you share your screen? Can you share the screen with me so I can show something real quick?
Yeah, give me just a second. You should be able to do it.
Okay, I don't know how to do. Oh, share screen. Okay, I won't do this long. I want to share this with you real quick. Can you see this sticky I have on my desktop? Okay, anytime I get someone under contract, I update this sticky. Okay, and so this is what it has. It's got their name, it's got the price, it's got the closing date, and then I have this criteria for everybody. Due diligence date. Well, that's at the bottom. I'm missing a thing because I can't really see it. Hold on a second. I can't see it because I'm sharing it with you. But essentially, like, have the inspections been completed? When the inspections are scheduled, I put the date on there, right? Have the repairs been negotiated? Is the appraisal in, right? And I'm constantly, this sticky is on my desktop. I'm looking at it every single day. And so if I don't have a date for the appraisal, I'm reaching out to the lender. Hey, Morgan, when's the appraisal? Or whoever they're working with, right? Have the inspections been completed? Hey, April, have you scheduled these yet? When are they? Because they're wanting to go. And so I need to get it on my calendar so that I can be there with them because they want to be there, right? April is going to help you manage this, but, and again, this is not a knock on April, so nobody think this, but if there's a problem at any step in the way, the clients don't care. It's on you, right? It's on you. And so you got to stay in front of this stuff. You've got to be monitoring this. You got to be working with the lender. You got to be working with April. You got to be working with the home inspector. You've got to be working with all these people. Doug, how do I stop sharing? I don't know how to do this.
It is just go
Take
back
away,
to screen.
can you take away screen sharing from me? I don't know if that's possible.
If you just go back to share screen at the bottom and click on it, it should give you the option to stop it.
Stop share. Okay, sorry. I'm illiterate on some things. Okay. Utilize your to-dos, right? The number one thing that I see that a lot of people forget to do is with new construction. They forget to reach out to the builder about scheduling pre-drywall. They forget to reach out to the builder about, hey, have you guys cleared the freaking lot yet? And so if your clients get unhappy with something, they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, dude, you're our agent. What's going on? Like, I put on my to-dos for every new construction client. I reach out to that project manager at least every 3 weeks because some of them are going to be really good and they're going to send you information, but a lot of them are not. And so it's your job to reach out to those people proactively and then provide that information to your client. And some of these builders like Lennar, they're going to try to ice you out. They're going to try to go directly to the client. And if there's a problem, it's going to bite you because the client's going to think you're not involved and you need to be. Okay.
I want to just add something on there. And some of you have heard me say this and some of you may have not, but it's never old. Be in control or someone else is going to be in control. Do you want somebody else in control of your transaction? Do you want your clients to be in control? They don't. That's why they came to you. Do you want the listing agent or the other agent to be in control? Absolutely not. Do you want the lender to be in control? The attorney to be in control? I don't. I want to be in control. Be out in front of things. Drive the ship. Open the lines of communication. Make sure things are getting done. Don't sit around and wait for somebody else to do it. Be proactive and be the expert. That's why you're there, right? Assume that role.
Quite frankly, that your client doesn't want to hear, well, the lender forgot to do this, right? They just want a solution, man. So they got a lot of money on the line here. They're stressed out already. We do this every single day. They may do this 5 to 7 times in their life. So they want solutions. They don't want the blame game, pointing fingers. Collaborating with clients, lenders, and attorney to gather the necessary documents. You should be getting everything that you need from a seller's agent, but if not, anticipate what's missing, and reach out to them and ask questions. Don't be afraid to ask a question. If you have a question, certainly reach out to the attorney or the lender. If someone's using an outside lender, well, even if they're using Morgan, I want to have a verbal conversation with that lender and make sure we're on the same page before I'm writing an offer, right? We can delay closing by 7 days. But if sometimes we assume that the clients have asked the right questions of the other people that they're working with in the transaction. And, if there's a mistake, honestly, it's, we should know about that. So, hey, can this person close in 30 days? Right? I ask all of those questions. We need to know. There was a chat message in here. Good luck, Christina. I think she may have already bounced. Okay. That was great. That was nice of her. Yeah, anticipate those things. Don't be afraid to ask questions. When you have a listing, do everything you can to get the HOA documents and upload those in the MLS. Anticipate the things that another good agent on the other side is going to ask you for, right? That's going to go a long way in developing. And remember, a good agent treats the agent on the other side as a partner, someone that we're having a good faith negotiation. Being adversarial with the other agent is not going to benefit your client at all. Like, I understand that things get heated, but you're not helping. You're just going to give them a reason to think, hey, this person's a dick. I don't want to work with them. Right. So
and you're hurting your client.
Yeah, don't be that guy. You're hurting your reputation. You're hurting the firm, but more than anything, you're hurting your client. So don't be that way. And a good faith negotiation, one person wants to buy and one person wants to sell. I've never seen a profession where the professionals involved kill more deals in real estate, right? A listing agent gets an offer that they don't like. Well, we're not going to accept this. I understand that you don't like it. Please present the offer. Present the offer. Let's get a conversation going. Okay. Anticipating and proactively addressing potential roadblocks. I feel like we've covered that. Any other questions so far? Okay.
If you show a home and you don't like that agent and you say something when you see that sign, or you roll the eyes, your eyes, you're already hurting your client. You have to remove your feelings from the situation. This isn't about you. We're a facilitator. We're not a decision maker, right? Remove yourself from that aspect of the situation. Take your personal thoughts on anything out. I might prefer stars on my ceiling and not dinosaurs. That doesn't mean I don't love Holly's dinosaurs, right? You got to look at it that way when you're showing homes to people. It doesn't matter that you don't like X, Y, and Z. Remove yourself from the situation and don't taint it by your approach or your leanings. And that can apply to a lot of things. Don't get in your own way and accidentally hurt your client. Even if your intentions are good, you could be hurting your client. Yeah, I had a client, I showed a house recently. She was like, oh my God, we have to paint. I hate gray. Guess what? Like 90% of my house is gray. But I didn't say, well, I love gray. You suck, right? Doesn't matter what I think, right? Just keep that in mind. Keep your personal stuff out of it. Be the expert about the things you're supposed to be an expert about, right? Just remember that.
I agree. That's exactly right. Okay, marketing and outreach, preparing impactful marketing materials, including property brochures and online listings. This is especially important when you go on a listing presentation. I have started providing that info sparks fast stats data that I was talking about earlier. I've started providing those in my comps to sellers in my listing presentation. I'm also providing showing time data. You can pull showing time data in the MLS. And so here's why that's helpful. If I've got a listing coming in Garner, which I will next month, and in the prior month listings at that price point were averaging 8 showings a month, I'm setting the expectation for that by providing that information to my seller, because they bought this place at the height of the market when everything had like 1.5 million showings, and they're probably thinking that's going to be the case. But when I give them this information, it says, hey, for the last 2 months, this price point in your location, they're averaging 8 showings a month, right? I'm letting them know, I'm setting the expectation, hey, it's a different market. This is how much traffic you should reasonably expect, right? That is helpful information. Don't let them assume. Provide the information. That's the value that we bring. We provide the information, and it also helps us set the expectation so that we can manage and maintain that relationship. Crafting compelling email campaigns and newsletters. Doug provides a monthly newsletter for us. We have the ability to reach out to other agents for listings and stuff like that if we need to. I think you're going to see more than that in COVID for a long time. people got away from emailing their listings out. That's going to come back because of the rates and because inventory is so low, but also buyer demand. There's a lot of people that have left the market. Collaborating with clients, lenders, and attorney. I'm sorry, I'm backtracking. Scheduling and automating social media posts for maximum reach. We have those skins from Mel. If you need one, you can reach out to her. Doug or I can provide you with Mel's number. Everything needs to be branded with the Oceanaire Realty logo. That is a North Carolina Real Estate Commission requirement. But it also just makes your stuff look cleaner and more professional. So keep that in mind. Leveraging analytics to fine-tune marketing strategies. You can show people in the MLS, at least up in here, how many agents are looking at your listings. You can pull the information for your listings, how many agents have looked at it, how many searches it's appeared in. Provide that information to your clients, just like you should provide them the showing time information and the feedback on their homes. Okay. Any questions there?
That's great advice.
Okay. Client education and guidance, preparing educational resources for clients such as buyers and sellers guide. Fortunately, Doug has created all of this stuff for us. We have the consultation packets. Those are great. You would be stunned at how many agents of the 76 some odd thousand in North Carolina don't do anything like that. Even if they never look at it once again, the fact that you brought it and gave it to them sets you apart from other agents right from the rip. Providing clients with market insights and relevant data. That's all the things I've just discussed with you, right? That's the hot sheet, properties that just hit the market that fit your criteria. That's the CMAs. That's the competitive market analysis, maybe. What's the plural of analysis? For buyers and for sellers. That's providing the showing time data. That's providing the fast ass data from the MLS. Data. Don't ever let people, well, how did you come to this price? What makes you think we should get this little amount of showings? Well, this is what the data says. I don't recommend anything that's not supported by data. I'm not just licking my finger and sticking it up in the air. I'm not going to Zillow to see what you should offer for a house or what your house is worth. This is the actual data. I do this for a living. You either trust me or you don't, but I'm going to earn your trust by providing you the data. Anticipating client questions and concerns to offer well-informed guidance. I will tell you the question that I hear that drives me nuts. I see this a lot on social media. Have the respect for your clients and for yourself to have real conversations with them. I never talk someone in or out of buying or selling a house. But when I get a question, and I get this from friends and clients and leads all the time, is now the right time to buy? Doug may disagree. I don't know. You may all disagree. I cannot stand when someone says it's always a great time to buy. It's a case-by-case situation. Explain that to people. It's a case-by-case situation based on what you're looking for and what you can afford and your comfortability. Don't come across like a salesperson. That's the number one way to damage your. It's always a great time to buy. How fast can you do this? Like, people don't respect that. People don't respect that. Have a thoughtful conversation with people and allow them to weigh the pros and cons. Don't tell them, just present. Hey, based on where you're at with your max pre-approval and what you're looking for and yada, 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 it may be a challenge for you, but I'm confident that we can get it done. Or, hey, you guys can do this. If you want to do it, let's get it done. Let's get it done. I can do this right now. Let's go. When can we get out there? Like, we're not deciding for people. Our job is what? To provide them with the information to make a decision that they're comfortable with. So have enough respect for them and for yourself to have an engaging conversations and let them make a decision. But I get that question all the time and I absolutely hate it. Maintaining a repository of local services to providers to recommend to clients. That's the benefits that we bring, right? April has a long checklist of people, general contractors, handymen, inspectors of all shapes and sizes, local attorneys. Of course, we have Morgan as our in-house lender. We've got people that can help people. We have good relationships with these vendors. We trust them. They trust us. There's a mutual respect. That's a value that we're providing to our client. Professional training and development. Okay, investing in ongoing training and development opportunities. I'm going to be really honest with you guys about something. And if you're in the Triangle office, you've heard me say this. We are in the toughest market that we've been in right now in real estate since I've had my license, and I got my license in November of 17. The rates are the highest they've been since I've had my license. The inventory is the lowest it's been since I've had my license. Home unaffordability is the highest that it's been in 40 years. It is a challenging market. Too many agents go through a 6, 12, 24-month time frame, and they think it's easy, and they quit working and they quit educating themselves and they stop paying attention to the market. And I've got a lot of friends that I used to work with at a prior firm, and they're not doing a half or a quarter of the business that they used to because they've quit educating themselves, they've quit paying attention to the market, and quite frankly, they've quit prospecting. Unless you've been in this business for 15 plus years and you've got a million past clients, you have to prospect in this business. And part of prospecting and part of educating yourself is talking to other agents. It's having conversations about how people are winning and losing offers. It's tracking inventory. It's tracking interest rates. The same way you win an offer now is not the same way that you won it in the heat of COVID. It's not the same way that you won it in the summer of 2018. Things change. And agents get a hot hand and they think it's going to be like this forever. And I'm telling you, it's not going to be like this forever. 2 years ago, I sold 43 homes. The market switched last year after 4th of July. Interest rates skyrocketed. I closed 35, and 2 of those were mine, so they don't count. I really closed 33. This year, my goal was 41 again. Well, you know what the interest rates have been like. I've got 24 closed. I don't have another deal pending for 2023. And it ain't for lack of effort, because I'm working my ass off.
And you guys know it's not for lack of effort, because you see how Brandon works. And he is struggling to achieve his goals. If you're new to this, or you're not putting in anywhere near that effort, why would you expect to have any different results? I mean, I love what Ellen said the other day in the group chat about grit. That's what it takes. And you see the people that are successful are the people that are willing to put their head down and work. You know, I see Eli in the office every time I go in the office. It's not even a team meeting day. The guy is there, his head is down, he's dialed in, and he's making stuff happen. That's what it takes, you know, and it's a direct correlation to the effort.
We got to take 8 hours of CE every year, unless you're a broker in charge. I'm pretty sure Doug and I are the only two that hold that eligibility. You have to take the continuing education class. That's 4 hours, but you got to take another 4-hour class. Look through what the elective options are and take a class that's going to help you get better in your business.
Yeah.
If you're not confident in the CMAs that you take a class on CMAs. If you're not confident in how to engage with people on fair housing issues, take a class that's going to do that. If you'd like to have a better understanding of how an appraisal works so that can help you with your CMAs, which the best way to improve on a CMA is to look at appraisal reports. Always ask your buyer clients for an appraisal. It helps you understand the difference between a 4-bedroom and a 3-bedroom, or 2-car, a 3-car, a 0-car garage. Educate yourselves by looking at those reports. Educate yourselves by signing up for continuing education classes. I will tell you that I paid like $350 earlier this year to get a certification from the National Association of Realtors certified pricing strategist or something. I can't even remember the acronym off the top of my head. I did that because I got to a point where I was second guessing my CMAs. I didn't have to do that. I added an extra credential so that I could solidify my education and my understanding of how to better do this. Those values I pass on to my clients, and I help them. It's also a tax write-off, by the way, but that helps me do better in my job. And I got to be better at my job because, like I was saying earlier, there's 76,000 agents. There's less people looking right now. There's less homes for sale. The rates
Brandon is the most thorough agent that I know. And he's happy to admit that based on his personality, right? He's also a fantastic agent. The two kind of go hand in hand. He's also sold a ton of houses. But guess how often we review each other's CMAs? Almost every single time. Yeah. Almost every single time.
Almost all the time. And it's funny when you work with a partner like that, which is great. It benefits you. You know, Doug usually goes, I'm usually more conservative on a listing than Doug is, right? Maybe now's the time to be more conservative during COVID. But sometimes during COVID, he was like, dude, come on, like you're being too conservative. And he was almost always right. But that's how we get better, by having these conversations with our colleagues, right? Preparing for industry changes and staying updated on legal requirements. Every year they change the forms. We go over those as a team. Pay attention in your continuing education. Pay attention to stuff that's going on in the local government around you. If you know a house is near an airport or near a road being expanded, you should know that. Know the areas that you're doing business in. There's one other thing we haven't really talked about. We haven't talked about this much. You guys need to start really considering how you express your value, especially to your buyer clients. There are several court cases going on in the United States right now where they're trying to bust up this standard of the sellers paying the buyer agent commission. That could happen at some point in time. And so you got to be prepared to, if the seller can just sign a listing agreement for 2.5% and there's no compensation provided to a buyer agent by the seller, that could very well happen within the next couple of years. And so you got to start thinking proactively about, okay, if buyer agents have to start paying me, how am I going to show that value? Start working on that now, because it's a real possibility that very well could happen. Engaging in role play, we do that in the office. We do that on Mondays and Thursdays, or Tuesdays and Thursdays. People are always encouraged to script together, one-on-one, mano a mano. People in the triangle know if they have a question, you can come to me. Here's the thing, though. I'm not coming to you probably. If you need help, let us know. Don't be afraid to let us know. But don't sit back and wait. Like, there's always a good opportunity when we're in our car to do this. Mentoring and knowledge sharing within your real estate network. If you have friends that work in other markets of the country, ask them what they're seeing, right? The more knowledge that you have about what's going on in other markets. Let me give you an example. Arguably the worst real estate market in the United States right now is Austin, Texas, which you probably would not think unless you're following real estate closely. The market is tanking. Those properties are shedding value left and right. I mean, they're losing value hand over fist. And so some people hear that and they think, well, the market's down everywhere. No, it ain't. It's not down here. It's not nuclear like it was, but it's not down here. If you get a question from someone that says, hey, the market's turning upside down or whatever, homes are shedding value, you got to be educated to go back to them and say, yeah, in 2 or 3 places in the country, maybe Seattle, Portland, San Francisco, and Austin. But here's the data for our market. This is what's going on. It's not nuclear anymore, but it's pretty strong. But you got to have that knowledge. You got to be having those conversations with people to put yourself in a position to be the agent to do that. I've talked for a long time, which I love to hear myself talk because I have OCD. What questions do you guys have, if any, that I can help you out with? I hope this has been beneficial.
I have a quick question, maybe something we can discuss based off of what you mentioned about those court cases regarding compensation.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing this more often where there's things like 2% or 2.3% seller compensation. What conversations do I need to have with my clients? And then how do I approach the listing agent to negotiate a higher compensation, or just ask the question if that could be something they can adjust?
Well, in my opinion, and Doug and other people may differ, when it comes to a listing agent, the best way to do is just pick up the phone and call them.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I would recommend. The odds of them changing that are going to be low, because typically what happens when you have a low commission is the listing agent haircut to get the deal. And instead of realizing that they had to take the haircut to get the deal, they're going to punish the buyer agent by trimming the buyer agent commission instead. That's typically what happens. Hey, Mr. and Miss Seller, I'll sell your house for 4%, and then I'll pay the buyer agent 1.5 or 2 or whatever. That happens up here all the time. And so what they're really doing is damaging our industry, quite frankly.
Yeah, 100%.
That's a whole nother conversation that we don't need to scroll and get into here. But you can have that conversation with a listing agent, but basically what you're asking them is to cut their pay and pay you more. And that's, probably not going to happen. And so what you need to be prepared is to have a conversation or make a decision that it's, I'm not going to do this for whatever reason. And that is to when you're doing your buyer consult, I typically explain that in our market, first of all, the National Association of Realtors, if you're a NAR member, which all of us are, they have expressly said you do not tell buyer clients, this is expressly forbidden by NAR, you do not tell your clients that the seller pays all the commission. We are not supposed to say that. And so typically the way that I explain it is the seller is offering a 2.4% commission on this home or whatever. That's how I explain it. I'm not saying they're required to. They're not required to. What I'm saying is many times in our market, the seller offers a 2.4% compensation or something close to that. In the event that they do not, I will let you know, and we will have a conversation about compensating me for assisting you with this property. I will let you know about that before we even get to the house. But out of respect, being completely honest with you, this is how I put food on the table for my family. This is how I pay my bills. I have a business of my own, and I don't work for free.
Well, and technically, that's a great way to, and I think you should always couch it that way. That's why the agency agreement is part of the strategy session, and why that language is included in ours about FSBOs, et cetera, and the buyer making up the difference. The thing is, it's not really the seller. The listing agent negotiates an overall commission with the seller, and then they offer whatever they want to the buyer agent out of their total commission. Now, some of you hadn't been around as long, but I believe it's incumbent upon the listing agent to provide their value to get the 6% or the 5.5% or whatever. We have never, not one time, gone below our market standard, quote unquote, that we offer to buyer agents because we've gotten less overall, and we won't do that. If you can't provide the value to get 5%, well, then guess what? You're making the same as the buyer agent. That's just how it's going to work, because we're not going to harm our industry because we can't provide the value in a given situation. And that's just my approach to it. And I think it's the right one. I think it's protecting the industry versus what Brandon said. These agents are like, yeah, I'll do it for 4. And then they offer 1.5, which is disgusting.
Well, and up here in the Triangle, I can't speak for down there, but what you see a lot of the time is, they're offering a 2% buyer commission. They're taking photos with like a 10-year-old droid. I mean, they're cutting every freaking corner that they can. And, I'm here to argue that they're costing their sellers money. I have had clients, one of my best friends, January of 21, I helped him buy a house that should have been, or January 22, I can't remember, should have been gone. It should have been off the market. And it was sold by the selling agent was the owner of the home. And she had the worst photography I'd ever seen. And if she had used our photographer, that home would have no doubt been in multiple offers because the market was crazy. Absolutely no doubt about it. And so she left money on the table by cheaping out, right? And that happens all the time. But you got to be able to have a conversation with people about providing that value. Hey, if I could get you 3% more, but it's going to cost you 1% more, do you really want to leave that 2% on the table? Do you really want to do that? You need every penny you can to parlay into the next place, don't you? That's what you've told me. Is it really worth your time to do that? And you're not going to get everybody that way. I've lost a lot of listing appointments over the last year and a half because, I didn't promise them a number that wasn't ridiculous, or I wouldn't do it for nothing. That's the game that we play when we sign up for real estate, unfortunately. Eli, I don't know how helpful that was, but I hope it was at least a little helpful.
It's always good insights. I appreciate it.
I would say just to that point directly, if you want to try to renegotiate the commission being offered by the listing agent, first have a conversation with your client about it and say, as we discussed during our strategy session and signed the buyer agency agreement, this is below, what our agreement states. So we can do one of two things. We can negotiate it as part of the offer, or you can agree to do it separately. Now, I think maybe one time I've done this in all the transactions I've ever done. A lot of times I'll just suck it up for 2% because at the end of the day, my goal is to help my client achieve their goal, and I don't want to jeopardize that. But, if you feel like it's justifiable, then go for it. If a property's been on the market for 70 days, hell yeah, write the offer and send with it the confirmation of compensation with the commission agreement at whatever percent. And if you get to that point, let's have a discussion about it. Okay. And I'll walk through it with you.
Yeah, I think that's a good. And here's the other thing, guys, being quite frank with you, like I've sold a couple Ryan Homes properties up here and the commission's a flat $3,500 and that blows, right? That sucks. But I didn't go back and ask my clients to make up a difference, quite frankly, because they couldn't afford it. They couldn't afford it. And I'm not going to have someone lose a house. They trusted me to take care of them. They were referred to me by a past client or a mutual friend, and I'm not going to upset that apple cart. You know, I tend to find in real estate on the buyer side and the listing side, when you're doing a lot of business, things even out. Things even out over time. And so just operate.
To that point, I would say with a builder, absolutely do it unless they just put it on the market. I know for a fact Charles has negotiated commission rates with builders before.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Okay, any other questions that I can help anybody with?
I think this has been great. Thank you so much for all of your insight, Brandon.
Yeah, I hope this is helpful for you guys. You've all got my number. If not, you can find it in the chat. But anytime I can help somebody, certainly please do feel free to reach out. And I'm always happy to help you guys.
Thanks, everybody. Have a fantastic weekend. I'll see you next week. Holler if you need anything over the weekend, okay?
See y'all.
Happy birthday, Doug.
Thank you. Take it easy.
Doug.